שני חצרות זו לפנים מזו. Two courtyards, one in front of another.
In a row.
It's like the previous one.
Two.
That's right. Two courtyards, one in front of the other. הפנימית פתוחה לחיצונה. The inner one is open to the other one. והחיצונה פתוחה למבוי. And the outer one is open into the street. או לרשות הרבים, or to the public domain. ונמצאים שיש לה פנימית, so therefore we find that the inner one has to go to the street through the outer one. דריסת הרגל בחצר החיצונה. They have to walk through the outer one. כלומר, which means שאנשי החצר הפנימית עוברים דרך חיצונה למבוי ולרשות הרבים. They go through it to the street, either the private street or to the public domain street. ערווה הפנימית. So let's see what happened. So the far away courtyard, the back one, ערווה הפנימית, עם החצר הפנימית ערווה לעצמה כדי לטלטל בחצרה. So the inner one made an eruv just for itself. ולא ערווה החיצונה. But the other one, next to the street, the one next to the street, did not make an eruv. So הפנימית מותרת לטלטל בחצרה. So the far away one is allowed to carry in the courtyard, שערי ערווה, because they made an eruv. והחיצונה אסורה, and the one next to the street is prohibited. שערי לא ערווה, because they didn't make an eruv. What happened? החיצונה ולא הפנימית. The one next to the street did an eruv, made an eruv between, but the far away one did not. ואם ערווה החיצונה ולא ערווה החצר הפנימית, but the far away one did not make an eruv, שתיהם אסורות. They're both prohibited. Why? הפנימית אסורה לפי שלא ערווה. The one far away is obvious, they didn't make an eruv. והחיצונה, אף על פי שהיא ערווה אסורה, and the one next to the street is still prohibited. Why? מחמת דריסת הרגל שיש לה פנימית בתוכה. Because since they have a right of walking, in other words, there's many people who didn't make an eruv. In other words, the right to walk makes them almost like one courtyard. The fact that they have the right to walk there, he didn't make an eruv with him. If it was one person, he can do bitul. But over here, the entire people didn't do. So that's, it's gone for everybody. שרגל, let's see what the idea, שרגל האסורה במקומה אוסרת, גם שלא במקומה, הועיל ודריסתה עליה. Just like because they have the right to walk over there, and you didn't make an eruv with them, that's it, you don't have an eruv. כלומר, הועיל ואנשי החצר הפנימיים אסורים לטלטל, בתוך חצרם, since those guys are permitted in your yard and they're not allowed to even carry in their yards, ויש להם דריסת רגל על החצר החיצונה, and they have permission to walk in your courtyard, לפיכך הם אוסרים גם על החיצונה. Therefore they prohibit now, since they're not allowed to carry, even in their own ones.
Well, by this logic, you should be, if the back does eruv, because they have a דריסת רגל, it should be good for the front too.
No, the front don't have a דריסת רגל in the back.
No, the back have דריסת רגל in the front. If the back does eruv, the front didn't do what we learned before. Now it says that the front cannot walk to the road and the back can, because the back did
That's
eruv.
right, that's right.
But that's logic, because they have a דריסת רגל, why doesn't they make an eruv for the front?
It's two different things. There's דריסת רגל is not exactly the same. It's not exactly the same. See, if you own it, there's
you have the permission just to walk there.
That's right. You don't own it. You have the right to walk. The right to walk
doesn't give you enough.
But now they don't have the right to walk. You know why they don't have the right to walk?
Because the guy didn't do eruv. Because
they didn't do eruv. So they said, you can't even walk over here. What are you doing? That's the idea. So in other words, they're kind of half an owner. Let's call it like this. Yeah. They're not a full owner, they're half.
It looks like the front guy has control over them because if he doesn't do eruv, he landlock them. They can walk.
Yeah, but he doesn't have the right to landlock.
But he's not going to do eruv.
If he doesn't do
it, then they can walk.
That's right.
They stay.
Yeah. שאף על פי שאנשי ערבו, even though that the people over there did make עירוב, אסור להם להוציא ולהכניס מבתיהם לחצר. They're not allowed to take out and in from the courtyards. ערבה זו לעצמה וזו לעצמה. What happened if the inner courtyard did and the outer courtyard did, but they didn't do between themselves? אם כל חצר ערבה לעצמה כדי לטייל בחצרה, if every courtyard did by itself in order to carry in the own yard, אבל לא ערבו זו עם זו. So, but they didn't make between each other. מותרות בפני עצמה, זו מותרת בפני עצמה, וזו מותרת בפני עצמה. So you're allowed to carry in this courtyard, those people are allowed to carry here, those people are allowed to carry here. ואין תריסת הרגל של הפנימית בחיצונה אוסרת על החיצונה. But we said before, they don't have eruv between these two, but they are... אף על פי שלא ערבה לאמא, לפי שהפנימית מותרת לטלטל בחצרה היא. The inner ones is allowed to carry in their own courtyard, and because they're allowed to carry in their own courtyard, now they'll be allowed to walk through and continue to carry.
Because the other front guy did eruv. Both did eruv.
Yeah, they did in eruv, and they're allowed to walk. They have a walking permit. In other words, if they're allowed, let's put it this way.
The chatzer, not to the street.
Yeah, if the inner one, the one far away from the street, have the right to walk in their own courtyard, they'll have the right to walk in their courtyard.
In the easement.
But if they don't have the right to walk in their courtyard, they will not have the right to in there. That's the idea.
Okay.
So אף על פי שלא ערבה אימה, לפי שהפנימית מותרת לטלטל בחצרה, because the inner one are allowed to walk. They're permitted to carry in their own courtyard. ורגל המותרת במקומה, and this is the rule, if they're allowed to carry in their own courtyard, אינה אוסרת שלא במקומה. Now you're not going to prohibit it in not in its place. רבי עקיבא אוסר חיצונה. רבי עקיבא disagrees. He says, no, they need to make an eruv. What do you mean? In other words, I agree with you that they have usually the permission to walk, but it's still not enough. אף על פי שהפנימית מותרת בפני עצמה, he says, even though that the one far away from the street is permitted on its own, מכל מקום החיצונה אסורה. Nevertheless, we're not going to allow them to walk through. In other words, he doesn't hold that if you're allowed to walk in your street, you're allowed, in your courtyard, you're allowed to walk. He say you need to make an eruv. You didn't make an eruv, you're not allowed to. In other words, the fact that you're allowed to walk there doesn't buy it for you. He says שדריסת הרגל אוסרתה, דריסת הרגל שיש לפנימית בחיצונה, it says the fact that you are, the outer ones can walk in the inner ones, אוסרת את הטיטול בחיצונה. It can prohibit carrying in the other one, כשלא ירבה עמה, when you didn't make an eruv. It says don't think that the fact that you're allowed to walk there, you're allowed to walk there without an eruv. שלדעת רבי עקיבא, according to רבי עקיבא, אף רגל המותרת במקומה, אוסרת שלא במקומה. It says also, if you're allowed to carry in one thing, in one place, that doesn't mean you're allowed to carry in another place if you didn't make an eruv, even though you're allowed to walk there. In other words, you do belong there. Yeah. וחכמים אומרים, but of course we're not going to go like the רבי עקיבא, חכמים אומרים, says the fact that you're allowed to walk over there buys it to you, and therefore if you're allowed to walk in your place, buys it to you in another place. And דריסת הרגל אסרתה, it says the fact that you can walk there doesn't prohibit it. בגמרא מבואר, in the Gemara it explains, שלדעת חכמים, that according to the sages, אפילו ערבה חיצונה ולא הפנימית, that even if the other courtyards, let's call חיצונה, the one next to the street, even if the one next to the street made an eruv, ולא הפנימית, and the inner courtyard did not make an eruv, the one far away did not make an eruv, מותרת החיצונה לטלטל בחצרה. He says, not like we said before, they will be allowed to carry in their own courtyard. שאין הפנימית אוסרת על החיצונה מחמת דריסת הרגל של הפתוחה. In other words, they're not really residence. They have the right to walk, right. But that doesn't make them full residents. אף על פי שהיא אסורה במקומה, even though they are prohibited to walk, they don't make the inner one, the one close to the street, prohibited to walk. שדריסת הרגל של הפנימית בחיצונה, that the fact that they're allowed to walk there, אינה כשותפות בגוף החצר החיצונה. It's not like they're real partners. We just give them permission to walk. That doesn't mean they're real partner means you're allowed to build it. You own it. You own it. You only have a right to walk. That's not real partnership. כדי לאסרה על אנשיה. נמצא לדעת חכמים. I like this one better. It makes more sense.
Me too. Better. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to lend guy. He won't be able to go to shul. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing Eruv.
Who?
The guy in the back. If the front guy does not do Eruv, the guy in the back cannot walk, cannot move, cannot go out of there.
Okay.
The first rule.
Or he can do the opposite. The guy next to the street can also, if he doesn't make Eruv,
the bad guy
can go out, yeah.
Because he doesn't have
No, he can go out, he cannot carry. They cannot go. He cannot carry, yeah. נמצא לדעת חכמים, אף רגל האסורה במקומה אינה אוסרת שלו במקומה. אוקיי, בהלכה כתנא קמא, בדהלכה איזלק תנא קמא, שרגל האסורה במקומה, אוסרת שלו במקומה. Oh, so we're not going to go. The halacha is like the first with it. The first. ואילו רגל המותרת במקומה, and if it is permissible, אינה אוסרת שלו במקומה. Does not prohibit שלו במקומה. Okay.